welcome back to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sean.
And we are glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we talk about real sales issues, big and small, for salespeople, selling situations, and sales leadership. Collectively, we have over 50 years of sales, selling leadership, and sales acumen under our belts, and we're here to share a little bit of that with you in the next 15 minutes. We're glad you're here. Enjoy the show. We're back again, and today we're going to crack open the can here on all things problem solving, not to figure out what specific problems to solve, but how we solve problems. Because in our world of sales and sales leadership, part of our secret sauce, and this is where if you're out there in listener land, we want you to listen in and press pause for a second, because this is really important. How you become a trusted advisor is solving a business problem, not selling a product. Sean, good to hear your voice.
You know, it's great to see you, Kevin. Hey, Kevin, I'm pretty sure that this is episode 50 of our podcast together, which congratulations on making it that far. Most podcasts don't get past 10 or something like that. Congratulations on sticking with me. Let's talk about solving problems, because I agree with your first statement there, and that is the essence of problem solving is that you are starting to become a trusted advisor. You do not sell a product and become a trusted advisor. And let's face it, everybody out there in listener land, if you're in sales, the keys to the kingdom is to become a trusted advisor to your client. So that advisor says, I wonder what Kevin thinks about this. And they call you up and invite you in and say, I'm going to explain my problems to you. Can you talk it through with me? Do you guys have something that can help me with this? Have you seen this before? That is when you become a trusted advisor, when you actually are getting a phone call from a client, and that existing client is asking your advice on how to solve a problem that they haven't even brought up to you before. That is the key. And this has happened to me a couple times in my career, and I've really enjoyed those relationships. Those are relationships actually that I can still say I have today. People that I became a trusted advisor to will still take my phone call, even if they're far away. If they're close to where I live, they're happy to say, let's go have lunch. Let's check up on each other. Let's talk about life. That's the relationships that you can live off of for a long, long time. And you don't have to worry about competition anymore. You don't have to worry about all the challenges. But Kevin, what are your thoughts on how to become a trusted advisor, how to solve problems for our clients, as opposed to just selling them a great product?
I love this discussion topic because it allows us to talk about how do you build a relationship out of thin air, right? Because when you start with a prospect list or a ideal client profile, you're not looking for the scattergun, who will talk back to me. You're looking for the opportunity to build a meaningful relationship with somebody. The first thing I say to anybody, whether they're somebody I'm coaching, if I'm giving a talk, I talk about the relationship first. Now, you can go too far on the relationship and be solely relationship driven. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about driving a relationship to a point of meaning. We want to show up. When I describe some of my best friends, my most trusted advisors that I trust, who would I add to that emergency contact list? That's what we're talking about, trusted advisor. And the people that we add to our trusted advisor list, to our emergency contact list, are really the people who we know will show up for us regardless of the ask. And when you think about your client list, that's how Sean and I would probably suggest you consider how you become a trusted advisor. Are you the person who's reliable? Are you always late? Do you always cancel at the last minute? Do you put somebody to voicemail every time and forget to call them back? That's a withdrawal from the trusted advisor list. So we want to talk about not doing those behaviors. That we can do the behaviors that we would expect from a trusted friend or advisor in our life. How do you determine who's going to be on that list, and how do you access that list as a trusted advisor for somebody? We think about not only dropping our products at the door. When I'm coaching somebody, especially on how do you start a relationship, I say, hey, let's get to know the buyer here. Let's get to know the business. Let's drop our products at the door, figure out what problems they need to solve for their business, and then quantify that problem in their business in terms that they measure. We want to talk about and learn about how somebody else is trying to solve a problem trying to release a pain point, trying to make a change or a difference in their business so that we can lean in and provide a valuable service. Nobody wants us to show up with a set of batteries to just plug in and recharge their business. They want a solution that they don't have to worry about anymore. They've got other, they being the customer, they have other problems they need to move on to, and this has got to be solved first. When we become that trusted advisor, we have made the relationship deposits. We have shown up. We have suggested maybe solutions that we don't even provide. We have connected them to other solutions. We have connected to other people that can be a part of their solution. That's the trust deposit.
I think you're exactly right on that, Kevin. And I also think that part of that challenge is to not talk about you, but instead, it's time to talk about them and understand their business. The more you understand their business and the more curious you are about their business, how does your business make money? How does your business lose money? How did you deal with the pandemic that happened a few years ago? How did you deal with the inflation rising right now? How's that affecting your business? Asking questions about their business that really don't have that much to do with selling your product, that is the key. The key is don't just show up as a salesperson. Don't just show up as a vendor. Show up as an interested third party that is just trying to figure out about their business, about what's going on, understanding their challenges, who are their competitors, asking them insightful questions that have really nothing to do about selling your product or finding the pain chain or anything like that that you may have read in some book. Instead, just be curious about their business and then offer insights and parallels to other companies because you've done this now to other companies. You're not going to just do it to the very first client. You show up and have this value. After you have asked company A about their business and tried to understand their business, and then later on that day, you went to company B and then company C the next day, and blah, 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 you eventually start to understand more about what's going on in the business community. You understand how to relate one to the other. And you can say, I was just talking to company B the other day, and they had that similar problem. They tried this is what they told me. They tried this to solve their problem. Have you guys looked at that? Have you guys done that? But now you're just taking information you learned from one organization and dropped it on the foot of somebody else's organization and offered them some value and potentially made them more successful. The key here is to constantly be curious about other companies and constantly give them feedback that you have learned. Perhaps you need to start reading the Wall Street Journal. Perhaps you need to start reading business oriented magazines and business oriented sites. It's all great. I love watching ESPN as well, but ESPN is not going to make you a trusted advisor. Let's jump on the business sites. Let's jump on the business channels on your cable as well. And let's learn a little bit about business so that you can be a business advisor to them.
Absolutely. And with the backdrop of how to solve problems, you have to be well read. You can call it being read into the problem. You have to understand the problem, the genesis, the root cause of the problem. But when we show up as a salesperson to solve a problem, you have a job to do on one level, but at the other end of that spectrum, as a sales leader, sales manager, salesperson, we have to figure out the problem, which means that, and you can go back and listen to some of our other podcasts now. You can listen to what kind of questions do we ask? It's not the tell me what keeps you up at night moment. This is what I think you're talking about, Sean. We're well read enough about all the problems facing the modern business owner and the modern salesperson that we can ask better questions about the economy and the landscape of all the problems they're facing. It's people, it's fiscal drivers, it's legal challenges, it's economics, it's everything down to the election. When we show up and we're well read, we understand who they're facing, why they're facing it, where they're facing it. Is it a pervasive problem? Is it a thin slice of their business that just happens to be the biggest chunk of their business? But when we are a problem solver, we're thinking through the problem from their perspective. We're thinking about the questions, the additional challenges they might be facing. everybody's got the same large macroeconomic challenges. We've all got interest rates rising. We've all got inflation. We all experience that in the same way. Now, we have to, as a salesperson, move beyond that and say, okay, we're experiencing that. So, what does it do to this specific customer, this specific industry? And that's the bridge that great salespeople can cross very quickly. And if it's a bridge too far for some salespeople, that's actually a real challenge for them in their professional growth. When we start elevating and stratifying different types of salespeople as sales leaders, that's what we're looking for. How good are their questions? What are we doing to solve customers' problems and understand them? If you're not having these discussions as a sales leader with your sales team, this is an area for you to lean in as well. Become a better question asker of your team. How are you coaching and developing your team? How are you helping them be better problem solvers? Sean, one of the badges that you and I are wearing, you mentioned it, the 50th episode. We have solved for a few problems as well. We've solved some technology problems. We've solved some understanding how to get published challenges. We have, as basically small business owners, we have crossed a lot of these challenges so we can look internally and understand some of the external problems that are facing our customers as well. We have to learn, teach, and grow internally, and also learn, teach, and grow others around us to build that bridge of understanding to become that trusted advisor. We've got some stripes of our own I think we could lean on here. When people are listening to us, they know that we have experienced, faced, and overcome some of those same challenges.
We also have repeatedly talked on this podcast about networking. And let's just say that you, as the listener, either your VP of sales, your owner of your company, or you, the salesperson, well, it doesn't really matter because you all have to be good at becoming a trusted advisor and helping your customers solve problems. But maybe you aren't able to digest the world of business by watching CNBC, like I just talked about, or reading Business Week, or whatever the case may be. Another way to learn what to ask your customer, your client, is to talk to your network. And when you're having your networking meetings, when you're sitting down and having a coffee, ask them, what business related questions do you ask? You can also give advice to them. You could be a trusted advisor to that networking partner. But at the same time, you could ask them questions about, maybe they're a lawyer, and you could ask them questions about, what are the legal challenges that are currently facing small businesses in the US? And that lawyer probably can give you a pretty good answer to that. Or maybe it's a payroll provider, or maybe it's an HR person, or maybe it's a marketing person. Same thing. You can ask questions. What are the things that I should look for? What challenges are people having in your particular industry? You write those down. And then you turn around and you're sitting in front of your client the next day, 2 days later, and you say, Joe, what challenges are you having for legal within your company? What are your legal challenges? What's unique? I've heard that XYZ, whatever that lawyer told you about. And then all of a sudden, the conversation changes from, it's not about, can I sell you a product? Can I offer you a service? But instead, I'm interested in making your company better, and I'm interested in helping the company be better. Now, it's interesting that we are going to have a CEO workshop. And I realize that for podcasts, you may be listening this weeks after we recorded this episode because you may not be current. You may have caught us late. Now you're kind of listening to some back issues. But at the end of September, we're actually having a CEO workshop. And the CEO workshop, for those of you who don't know us, is where Kevin and I sit for an hour rather than just this 15 minutes on a podcast. We go through some slides, and it's live video, and you can actually learn about how to help and understand your customer, because that's what the next session is going to be all about, is about how do you help your customer by understanding their business and the challenges of doing that. So I do encourage you to come onto LinkedIn. So simply, search for Kevin Lawson or Sean O'Shaughnessy or Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, and you'll see a link there eventually about our next CEO workshop. But for now, we are right at our 15 minutes and we need to wrap up. Please come back next week and learn more about sales and sales strategy. Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast of Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We hope that we were able to share some valuable insight, valuable knowledge with you to make your selling adventures easier, and more successful. Please join us every week. We drop these on Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Please subscribe to us in your favorite podcast player. Also, please join us on LinkedIn, where we do a CEO workshop, and that CEO workshop is dedicated monthly to big questions that CEOs are having and how to grow their business and drive sales. You can find us on LinkedIn. Just search for Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. Thank you very much. Have a great day.